sun's energy is one of our great natural resources, but it has been rarely used by man except in agriculture. The world's supply of sunshine is far greater than the demands for fuel and power. Solar energy is widely distributed, making unnecessary long transmission lines and expensive fuel deliveries. It is not available at night nor in cloudy weather, thus requiring expensive storage equipment. In sun-rich, economically poor parts of the world, the standard of living could be improved by the use of solar devices. A billion people live in these areas. Intensive research is needed, however, to make these devices practical. The University of Wisconsin's Solar Energy Laboratory, under the direction of Dr. John A. Duffy, is engaged in this research with generous support from the Rockefeller Foundation. How can the sun be used? Let us look at some of the projects going on here. This solar cooker is equivalent to a 500-watt electric hot plate. It will bring a quart of water to boiling in 10 or 15 minutes. This solar refrigerator will produce 9 pounds of ice with a 4-hour exposure to the sun. Solar air conditioning is a definite possibility on which the laboratory is working. Seawater can be distilled with this still made of plastic. A unit of this size will produce over 2 gallons per day of fresh water in bright sunlight. The focused solar radiation can be used for producing mechanical energy with the hot air engine. This one is developed by Roger Bryan. Or it can be focused into a newly developed thermocouple, which converts solar heat into electricity, 40 watts in this case. Other devices for the practical use of the sun's energy are being explored, including hot water heating, heat storage, solar drying, photovoltaic, solar batteries, and fuel cells, which use waste organic material and air for the direct conversion into electricity. Although applications of solar energy formerly received very little attention, there are now demands for power for the space exploration vehicles. There is a growing realization also that the industrialized countries can help the rapidly developing countries to make direct use of the sun's energy. There are 3 questions about these solar devices. First, will they work? The answer is yes. Second, can they compete with fuel-heated and electrically operated devices? Usually no, at present, but in some areas, yes, and in the future. Third, will the devices be adopted by the people in those regions where the climate and the economy seem to favor their social acceptance? The engineers feel that the answer to this question would be provided by several benefits that solar energy devices would give to people in sunny areas. They considered the cost in money of fuels such as kerosene, gas, and wood. The gathering of wood leads to deforestation and eventually to soil erosion. It also requires time-consuming labor, often far from home. Solar engineers and anthropologists of the University of Wisconsin collaborated to investigate the testing of laboratory-built devices under field conditions and the social acceptance of these devices.
This film takes the introduction of solar cookers in Mexico as an example. Field research for this experiment in applied anthropology was pursued on the Colorado River Indian Reservation near Parker, Arizona, in 1958 to 1959, and from 1959 to 1962 in 3 widely separated, climatically different villages of Mexico. Near the city of Torreon, the small town of Congregación Hidalgo, which lies in an irrigated cotton-growing region. The second community, the rather remote village of Cuauhtémoc in Tlaxcala, is on the slopes of a volcano. The third village studied, Teotitlán del Valle, almost 20 miles from Oaxaca, will be seen in this film. Teotitlan is intermediate between the other 2 communities in its experience with outsiders. It has for several decades sustained an active export of woolen textiles and has attracted some tourist attention. Teotitlan has many days of strong sun and is largely sheltered from severe winds, but it was chosen to represent a geographic environment that offers minimum support for solar cooker acceptance because of considerable rain and cloud cover, and because the town has a fairly abundant wood supply on nearby mountain slopes. Teotitlan has a population of under 4,000 people who see their town as characterized by relative harmony and peace. Teotitlan subsists about half from farming, raising corn, squashes, and beans, and cattle, pigs, and poultry. Equal in importance for its subsistence is the town's widely acclaimed textile industry. Using wools raised in another region of southern Mexico and chemical dyes from Mexico City, the weavers carry out all processes of production locally, from scouring, washing, and carding the raw wool to spinning and weaving. The anthropologists originally hoped that solar cookers could contribute to the production of the town's important exports, as well as to its domestic economy. If the cookers could heat the boiling water used for fast dyes, a great saving of wood fuel would result. The present size and strength of the cookers was, however, ill-suited for supporting or boiling the 40 liters of water contained by the vats used in dyeing, so that the use of solar cookers for dyeing had to take a different form. After being dyed, the colored yarns are spun and the shuttles are prepared. Weavers who can afford it often hire others to work for them. Otherwise, family members help with the various stages of textile making. Both traditional and original designs are woven on European-style looms. Weavers regard the work as tedious and physically taxing, though they rely on it to get cash for the purchase of daily necessities. With the changes of recent decades in dress for men, the local market for woolen goods has been replaced by sales to outsiders in and out of Mexico. Prior to being sold, the finished woolen goods are washed in hot water when they are fast dyed and hung out in the sun to dry. While many textiles are sold directly in Teotitlan or mailed from there on order to places as distant as Philadelphia, others are carried for sale to nearby marketplaces, especially in the city of Oaxaca itself. Teotitlan is in many respects a traditional town. Many women speak only the Zapotec Indian language, as can be seen from this still used bas-relief with its ancient jaguar motif. The town's daily life has deep roots in its pre-Hispanic past as a Zapotec city-state. The town's long colonial experience is a continuing influence, but in recent decades, Teotitlan has had strong and continuous contact with the outside world through motor transport, through pilgrimages to outside sacred spots, through the visits of textile-seeking tourists, through the experiences of townsmen as farm laborers within Mexico and in the United States, through exposure to magazines, radios, movies, and other mass media, and through the schools. It is therefore a town that has known changes and is positively receptive to new ways of thinking and to new ways of doing things. As in the other communities, an anthropologist explained how the solar cookers work and the possible benefits for science and for the user of experimenting with their use. The cookers were distributed on request, usually as gifts, though there were inconclusive experiments with selling them, and in each community the supply was quickly exhausted. The anthropologists suggested easy focusing and cleaning procedures for maximum cooking heat and minimum damage to the cooker's reflective surface, and occasionally they helped by repairing damaged cookers. Although the anthropologists attempted to be subtle in checking on cooker use, their friendly presence undoubtedly encouraged some villagers to use their cookers regardless of the actual economic benefit. Solar cookers were readily taken. Although some women regarded the cookers as mechanical things, even dangerous ones, which men should handle, recipients usually learned quickly to manipulate them with success. Nevertheless, several factors worked against a thorough incorporation of the solar cookers into community and household life. Among the factors limiting the fullest cooker utilization is the customary way of cooking. The rural Mexican woman kneels on the floor before her cooking place, surrounded by all items needed in meal preparation. She can easily supervise her smallest children and serve her family and guests. She can control both the intensity and spread of her heat source to accommodate several pots and the large tortilla griddle. The sheltered kitchen protects her cooking place and food from wind, dust, and animals, and keeps her basic staple, corn dough, from drying out in the hot sun. She is sheltered from the sun, which in some Mexican regions is viewed as uncomfortable and even detrimental to health or beauty. In villages like Teotitlan, the woman is not the wood gatherer and has less incentive to conserve the family wood supply in her cooking than do the other members of her family who bring the wood to her. The men, especially weavers, regard wood as costly because they must purchase it or else gather it themselves, which takes time away from their cash-producing work. In other villages, wood is not regarded as costly, since it is gathered by men and women returning from the fields or during seasons of slack employment. The major hours of fuel consumption in the rural Mexican areas studied do coincide with the daylight hours during which solar cookers are usable. However, the cooker's other characteristics, it has to be operated outdoors, from a standing position, and has only one heating unit of almost unvariable size, proved to be incompatible with traditional cooking methods. At the end of 8 months of intensive study in one community, only about 40% of the recipient families could be judged successful in their use, and particularly in their care, of the solar cookers. Moreover, few users anywhere reported damage. Few made or requested repairs, or built steadying props for the cookers. No one made significant adaptations, such as outdoor tables or menu changes, which would have demonstrated complete integration of the cookers into village life.